Good morning, guys. You know what today is? It's Monday Morning Chats with Sack, and Sack is me. I hope you guys had a great weekend. I had a phenomenal weekend. Like, my weekend was pretty lit. It was so much fun. I got a chance to go to West Virginia, went kayaking with my family. Sundays are usually like Cuzzo brunch, so did Sunday Cuzzo brunch. And then just relax and had wine and looked at TV. It was great. No work. If there was a client call, I'd probably push the ignore button. It was great. It was a great weekend. But sidebar, I hope that you had a great past week, and if you did not, this is the time to have a great week this week, and you make that decision. So I'm gonna tell you my little tiny routine in the morning. So when I wake up, I read something positive. I read a scripture. Throughout the day, I read my Bible. If I have like a break in between work, I'll read a scripture or whatnot. Something that's on my mind. Or I'll read like a positive affirmation. Like I read something positive every single day. I believe you are what you think. So I'm very mindful of the things I put inside of me. So I'm cautious of who I'm around. If you're negative, I don't want to be around you. If you call me with something negative, I may make an excuse because I can't deal with that. But then I came across these incense. It's called chakra. It's seven different types. This one is sensual, soothing, and inspiring. I light an incense every morning to start my day. It's positive vibes in my house. I have like positive sayings all throughout my house. The area that I'm in now, this is like my she den. This is like my women's cave, but it's upstairs. I have plants. I have 3 plants in here. Plants, I don't know, plants does something to me. I have a money tree here. The goal is to create wealth, and I have 2 other trees here, and they're just beautiful. So that's just my sidebar. But today, if I had to label this as something, the title of this speech will be I'm not a military kid, I just lived in 5 states. So yesterday, I gave you guys like a heads up as to what I was going to talk about for today. And I want to talk about things that I've learned living in different states. So I lived in 5 different states throughout my entire life. Will I live in more states? Honestly, I really don't know. I actually love Maryland, and I plan to stay here unless there's circumstances that require me to actually move. So I lived in 5 states. So I want to tell you different life lessons that I have learned living in various states. So I was born in Camden, New Jersey. Camden, New Jersey is South Jersey. Is across the river from Philadelphia. So you could get, depending on what part of Philadelphia you're in, you could get to Camden, New Jersey within 20 minutes. Camden is a very small town. At one point, it was considered one of the poorest cities in the United States. They had an actual CNN special about that. So that's my original hometown. I was born in Cooper Hospital in downtown Camden, New Jersey. So I lived there from I was born until I was about 6 years old. And me and my 2 brothers, we were born there and we lived there. So I wrote down some things that I've learned while living in Camden, New Jersey. A lesson learned was poverty and struggle. And you know, when you're a child, you don't know you're poor because that's what you're familiar with, unless you were exposed to something different. And when I got older, I realized like, damn, I was like poor. I didn't have any money. Like we were poor. Like we didn't have any money. And I knew what it was like to struggle and not have much. And, you know, I remember growing up where it was sometimes where we would have like rice-a-roni all the time. We would have oatmeal for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And to mix it up, we would have like a jelly in the morning. For lunch, we would have like maybe brown sugar or sugar and butter. And then for dinner, we would put syrup on our oatmeal. So that way it tastes good and it's something different. So we can make it seem like even though we had oatmeal for the entire day, we were able to make it taste good. So that way it tastes different for the different meals that we had. I remember not really having much. I remember going to Village Thrift. That's in Camden, New Jersey. And we would buy our clothes from. That's a thrift store now. Don't get me wrong. I love thrift stores. But growing up, that was a place that we went to get clothes. So I remember those things. And the one thing I always tell myself is that, you could be born poor, but don't die poor. And so it's based on the decisions. Another thing in Camden, New Jersey, is that, I watch a lot of my family members struggle with substance abuse, more so drug addictions. And when you're younger, you make that cognizant decision to either follow their footsteps, or you make a decision to want better. And that's all it was for me. I grew up, I used to look at the Dare commercials all the time, and I would tell myself, like, I don't want to do that. Like, I don't think it's cool. And the Dare commercials will make it cool, saying that, hey, drugs are not cool. And that's what I really believed at 5 years old. Like, hey, drugs are not cool. So growing up, even though I was exposed to it, I just never found any interest to had this idea or this thought that I ever wanted to try it. So growing up, the only drug I admit to doing is actually drinking alcohol. But other than that, like, I never did any type of drug. Like, and that's because of what I was exposed to growing up. So I just made that cognizant decision that, hey, I don't want this, and that's absolutely fine. So New Jersey, it taught me about struggle. And it taught me that although that you may have struggled, you can get out of it if you sacrifice. And so that comes into my transition that when I turned 6, going into first grade, I moved to Philadelphia, moved to West Philly. Pretty much, I was raised there. My mother decided to move to Philadelphia to have a better life for me and my brothers. And she sacrificed a lot. She left so much behind in Camden, New Jersey, to give us a better life in Philly. In Pennsylvania, if I had to label this, it will be a mother's love. My mom sacrificed so much for us to have a good life. I mean, she left everything behind, changed our whole entire lifestyle, just for us. I remember, when we lived in Philadelphia, my mom's first apartment was in the Overbrook section, if you're from Philadelphia. And I remember times where, she started to work in her career, this new career that she has. She's been in corrections for 26 years. So she's been working in the jails for like 26 years. And I remember at one point when she first started, she didn't really have much. And I remember that she would just make sure we had everything, and she would not buy herself nothing at all. It was times where we would go out to the mall, get clothes, and she would not buy anything. Her main focus was for us. And I just pray that one day when I become a mother, I become as half of the mother that she is. So I know what it's like to sacrifice living in PA. And that's from my mom. Just sacrificing, making better decisions, and leadership. When my mom started in correction, she was all the way at the low totem pole, like all the way at the low. And I remember seeing my mom just moving up the ladder. And I was really inspired. Like, that was my role model. My mom would get accolades from her job, various awards, go to different ceremonies dressed up in nice gowns. And I would look at my mom like, she's just so beautiful. She's so intelligent. Like, she's really doing what she says she's going to do. And as far as it relates to, like, leadership and having a better life, when I was in 8th grade, my mom made one of the best decisions of her life, and that was to get us out of Philadelphia. And even though when I was younger, I did not like her for making a decision, but as an adult, I really appreciated it so much more. And so for 8th grade, my mom got a job offer to move to Florida. Now, if you're from the city, like, who wants to leave their friends? Like, I remember graduating from 8th grade, and everyone's so excited because my school in Philly, it went up to high school. So most of us, we went to middle school, we went to elementary school together, went to middle school together, and most of us was going to high school together. And 8th grade, everyone's talking about the high school they're going to go to. I eventually wanted to go to like a vocational school, or I even considered just staying in my school. All my friends were there. And I remember, my mom saying, well, I got to tell you guys something. I'm like, what is it? And she's like, yeah, I got a job offer to move to Florida. And my initial thought was, oh my God, like, we're moving to like sunny Florida. I went to Disney World before, so I'm thinking that every part in Florida looks like Disney World. And so I'm excited, like, wow. And and during the time growing up, we always lived in apartments. I'm like, okay, well, we finally get a house. Like, this is really dope. And I get my own room. My brothers can't come in my room. Like, this is going to be pretty cool. And Florida, if I had to label this as a life lesson, it's about family, staying together, and Sunday dinners. And so when I moved to Florida, oh God, I did not like it at all. I did not like it because it was country. I thought it was gonna look like Orlando. We lived on 10 acres of land. My mom had a ranch. It was a 1 floor house. We had 3 bedrooms. We had the kids in my school. They thought that we were rich. My mom just had a good promotion, and she was doing well compared to the other people that lived there. So we lived on 10 acres of land. I had a horse growing up. We had a mini farm, so we had chickens. We had a pig. The pig actually ran away. Um, we had a family room. That was a room that my brothers would play their PlayStation or Xbox or whatnot. Had their friends come over. Dining room, but the best part of our house, we had a game room. It was like us. The room had like brick floors, and we had like a pool table. We had air hockey. Like, our house was a place to come. Like, we had fun. We turned our garage into like a boxing gym. So my brothers had like the whole Everlast set, and we used to box. So whether it's me and my brother going at it, my brothers and my step pop, like we boxed. And we just had fun. We had a clubhouse too. Like, we actually had a real tree house. So we were like living a life, but I didn't appreciate it because I wasn't used to living outside of city limits. Like, I was used to living in the city. Never thought I would leave the city, but I lived in the country. But the thing that I appreciated most is that we didn't have family there. Like, we had to pretty much start from scratch. And the thing that I appreciate now, I didn't really appreciate when I was younger because I was a kid, about sticking together with family. Like, we were all we had. And it made our family stronger because we didn't know anybody. So every weekend we did everything together. We went to the beach, Pensacola Beach, Navarre Beach, Fort Walton Beach. Like, we went to different beaches in Florida. And I tell people, if you don't have money to go to an island, you can go to any Florida beach and still get that same feeling. The Florida beaches are amazing. And we lived on the Panhandle. So we were about like a little over an hour and a half from Tallahassee, drive to Tallahassee. We were an hour from Alabama. And believe it or not, Alabama is not that bad depending on where you are at. We used to go to Mobile. We would look up like different places to go on the weekend, went to the fairs, and we really stuck together. Like, we had family dinner. We did a lot of things together, and that made me really appreciate family. That made me appreciate family so much. And we had Sunday dinner. And now, as I'm older, I really take family Sunday dinners like very serious. And so, like, for the last 5 years, I'm gonna say 5 years, I have some cousins and family that live out here in Maryland. And what we would do, we would rotate either like twice a month, at least twice a month, especially in the fall. We would rotate as to who's gonna host Sunday dinner at their house. And so when I first moved out here, I had an apartment, so I didn't really want anybody coming to my apartment. I didn't really like having a lot of people in my space. So I would just go there and I would cook there. And we would cook everything, like whether it's turkey, macaroni and cheese, and we all sat at the same table. And even now, I implement that at my house. So my parents live with me right now. And when I have Sunday dinner, no one's not sitting in the living room looking at TV. No one's not sitting outside. We sit together. I make my parents sit with me, and they cannot eat until I say grace. And it got to the point where they're like, well, Sakina, you're going to say grace, right? I'm like, yeah, close your eyes and bow your heads and hold my hand. But now with coronavirus, like, hey, did you like wash your hands? So family, living in Florida really taught me the importance of family sticking together. And I was able to witness that by having friends. And my friends that are out there, Sunday dinners all the time. And then I left Florida. I didn't finish high school there. Eventually, I went back to Philly to finish high school, went to college and so forth. But another state that I lived in, after living in Florida, I did move to Philly to finish. Well, I did move to Philly to attempt to finish high school. And then I moved back. I moved to Maryland. I moved to St. Mary's County for almost a year to finish up my junior year and the beginning of my senior year. My mom got a job promotion after living in Florida, to move to St. Mary's County to work in the jails there. So I got a chance to live in Maryland. It was country, but you know what? I had so much fun. And then when my mom got a job offer to move back to Florida, I moved back to Philly, finished school, went to college, finished college. And then I went to Michigan. Now, Michigan is different. Never been to the Midwest before. Totally different. Like, totally different. And during that time, I'm looking down because I have notes here. So, moving in Michigan was different. It was scary because it's just like, wow, I'm actually trying to pursue a dream that I always wanted. That was to be a lawyer. It is a lawyer. And at first I had doubt in myself because it was like, well, I want to do this, but can I really do this? And I remember I left to go to Michigan. It was December the 28th of 2009. And every year my family always do like a Christmas dinner the Saturday before Christmas. It's always a Saturday before Christmas. And it's a seafood dinner. So I remember saying like, wow, like I'm not going to see my family again. Like I'm very close to my family. I have over 30 first cousins. I have my grandmother, my mother in herself. She has eight? Like 9 brothers and sisters. So I come from a very big family and we're all very, very close and we always do things. And the summer's a little different now because of the pandemic, but growing up we had cookouts. I'll be in Philly all the time. And now that I have my own house, I'm just like my house is considered popping. So I like to do stuff. And so when I was at this Christmas dinner, I realized like, dang, like I'm not going to be able to go to like my aunt's house if I want to get away for the weekend because I'm so far out. I don't know anybody. And I remember being at that Christmas dinner and I just cried. I was like, I broke down crying. I hugged my cousin like, I'm leaving, guys. And I remember like going to Burlington Coat Factory because I know that Michigan was very cold. I got like this cheap coat. I was broke. I didn't have any money. And I had this cheap coat. It was like a tan coat. It was from XOXO. And I was like, this is it. I had one bag. My mom took me to the airport. Had this one bag. And I was like, you know what? God, I don't know what you have in store for me, but the only way I want to leave Michigan is by graduating. I don't know how it's going to be, but I just want to walk across the stage. That's all I want. And I remember going to the airport, pulling my little roly-poly bag, and most of my clothes got actually shipped there to Michigan. So shipped to my apartment because I couldn't carry all that stuff on the plane. And I remember like, wow, this is it. And so when I left my mom, I was waving at her. And when I got into the airport, I just started to cry. Like, wow, this is really it. And during that time, I realized that dreams do come true. And I eventually went to law school. By far one of the best experiences I ever had. And those friends there, they're a little different than my friends that I went to high school with and college with because we were all pursuing the same thing. Some of us came from different backgrounds. Some of us came from similar backgrounds. And no matter where we came from, we were all able to come together and encourage each other. And I realized that during that time, dreams do come true. But success is not done in isolation. Sometimes you need people that's going to support you. And my law school roommate is actually on her now. Her name is Sierra. Came into Michigan together, realized that, hey, we're starting at the same law school. We're in the same section, which means we're going to have the same classes. She was my sorority sister. And she was my number. I was a number 5 on my line. And Sierra can tell you, like, we will cry sometime. Like, we will sit in our rooms, lock our doors, and we will be in our room for like 7 hours straight, like reading. And sometimes we will figure out like, damn, like, are we really going to graduate? But I appreciate Sierra, and I'm so grateful that I had a roommate in law school because she encouraged me times where I couldn't encourage myself. We studied together. We prayed together. We went to church together. I didn't have a car in law school at all, so I was on a bus, public transportation. And I remember like we would go to church together, and before she got her car, we would use like the church's transportation. to go to church. And so that was my law school roommate, prayer partner, accountability partner, just everything. So honestly, I don't know how I would have made it if I didn't have Sierra. So if you listen to the Sierra, I appreciate you. I appreciate you a lot. And then vulnerability. I learned how to be even more vulnerable. And the one thing about vulnerability is that everyone is vulnerability is like a story, and everyone is not entitled to that. That whoever you're being vulnerable to, whether it's a friend or whoever, they had to create a space for you where you feel okay telling your story, whatever that story may be. And I got a chance to meet some great people where they were like, I'm getting a chance to know you, and I really like you, but there's some things I just don't like. And I was open, so I was like, oh, okay. And then I got a chance to be vulnerable. I actually love somebody in law school. That's over with, but it was a good feeling. It was a good feeling. So so I left Michigan and then graduated. I actually graduated, and then I moved back to Maryland. And Maryland, if I had to label this life lesson, it would be perseverance and patience. Graduating from law school, the next step is taking the bar. The next step is getting that job. And most of my colleagues would tell you that a lot of people like the idea of coming to the DC area because you can make money here. There's a lot of attorney jobs here. So I thought I was doing the good thing. Wow, this is pretty cool. But I didn't know that. I knew I wanted to be a lawyer, and I knew I already graduated, but I didn't know what it would actually take to become licensed. And perseverance, I just realized, hey, I'm not a quitter. I'm not going to give up. And I remember the times that I failed the bar, I was broken. I just remember the first time I failed and I got my results. I was living with my cousin at the time, and I just sat on the floor and I just broke down crying. I was just I just felt lost. I felt incomplete. I mean, anything you can think about when it comes to being broken. I broke. I was crying so much that she came in her room. And I guess my cries are contagious because she came in her room and she sat on the floor and she cried with me. She's like, it's okay. I got you. If you need me, you don't have to worry about anything. And at the time, I was dating this guy that lived out here, that lived in D.C., and I was like, I freaking failed. I'm a failure. And he was like, you know what? Come to this event and you'll be fine. And I came to this event, and this is the time that everybody got their bar license. Their letters, letting them know if they passed or not. And everyone's like, yeah, that test was easy. And I was like, I hate it here. It was not easy to me. But I realized that during that time, if you really want something, you can actually get it. But sometimes you have to, be patient. And I realized that I was patient and I trust the process. Whatever that process was to become licensed. I just made a decision to just never give up. Great things go to those that wait. And I thank God that I waited, because if I became a licensed attorney on the first try, honestly, I don't know if I'd be the same person I am today, nor would I have the different opportunities that came my way. I'm grateful that I failed in the second time, because it showed me that no matter what you do, God is still in control. The third try, I was really close to passing. And then I realized, a lot of times we do old tricks or we do old ways to open new doors. And I decided to do something different when I passed. I studied less and I trusted God even more. And I hired a tutor. And a tutor was $800 a month for 2 months. At that time, I was living in my own studio apartment in Baltimore. That was the same amount as my rent. So it's I'm paying double. I don't have much. But I really trusted him. And when I realized to trust him more than other things, that's when I passed. So those were my life lessons that I've learned in the various states that I lived in. No, I'm not a military kid. I moved around due to my mom's job. And then for me, thinking that I was going to have a better life if I moved back to Philly or get closer there. But these things that I went through, it really made me the person I am today. I've learned a lot. I'm still learning. I'm still growing. And I wouldn't trade it for the world. I think that if you had the opportunity to live in a different state, do it if you're willing to and you're able to. You learn a lot. Living in the South is by far like a different experience. I wish everybody could get the experience to live in the South. Southern people are amazing. I love my friends from the South. They really taught me about Southern hospitality. That's why I like to host. Like, I like to have people over, like, hey, you need something? Let me get this for you. But after three times coming to my house, you can go in the refrigerator yourself. I'm not pouring you a glass of juice or water. You could do that yourself. But other than that, it taught me a lot. So if you ever have an opportunity to live somewhere else, try it. You learn a lot. You learn how people live. And, growing up in Philly, I had this idea that everybody lived the same way that I did. And, the whole thing with, like, slang, like the different slang terms that we use in Philly, it was like going to different places. I'm like, you don't know what join me? You don't know what being Joe means? You don't know what hand me a box? Like, you don't know these things? And I realized, like, everybody learns things differently. Everyone has their own terms of things. But just because it's different, it doesn't mean that your way of life is better. And so living in these 5 states, it really it taught me a lot. And it made me the person I am today. This is Sakina. So I hope that this message inspired you. I hope that maybe it encouraged you to look over your life and just say, hey, instead of looking over the bad things and saying, why did I go through this? Ask yourself, what did I learn from it? I could tell you some stories. I mean, I've been exposed to some things, and I could tell you that now I don't even get mad at the things. It's more so like, man, I really learned from this, and I wouldn't trade in it for the world. But I hope that you have a great Monday. I hope that you never forget how amazing you are. No matter what life throws at you, you got it. You are amazing. You are pretty dope. You are phenomenal. I hope that your Tuesday is even better. I hope that your Wednesday is super. I hope that your Thursday is phenomenal. I hope that your Friday is spectacular. And I hope that your weekend is lit. You had the decision every single day to be happy. So make that decision. If you don't like the job that you're at, leave. If you don't like the relationship that you're in, get the hell out. If you don't like the people that you're around, say something. Maybe they're doing something they don't know that it bothers your soul. But the last note that I want to say is that if you looked at my story, you'll see it. But this is what I live by. Mean what you say and say what you mean. Do not apologize for your message. You can apologize for the delivery. The one thing that I've learned is that people if you worry so much about what people have to say based on what you're going to tell them, you'll never be able to really express how you feel. Sometimes you can't control your delivery. You could try as much, but you can never control how people interpret your message. But never change your message. If this is what you mean, say that. And don't backtrack from that. So mean what you say what you mean. You can apologize for the delivery, but don't apologize for the message. You meant exactly what you meant to say with no apology. So take care, guys. I hope that this inspired you. Have a great Monday. And just never forget, you are freaking dope. Bye.